Welcome back, everybody. I'm I-Team Chief Mike Magnoli, and this morning we're excited to bring you the fourth interview in our series of conversations with candidates running for state attorney in Palm Beach County. This is Justice on the Ballot. Now, Dave Aronberg has been in the important position of state attorney since 2012, but he's not seeking re-election this year, so for the first time in over a decade, there's going to be a new boss in the prosecutor's office. In this race, we've heard from 2 Democrats and a Republican so far on the show. Well, today, the candidate is unaffiliated. His name is Adam Farkas. Since he's not running with a declared party, he will not be on the ballot on the August 20th primary, but you will see him on the ballot come the general election in November. And an independent candidate can make things interesting, to say the least. Before we talk with Adam, let's watch this and learn some more about his experience. Adam Farkas is the only non-party affiliated candidate in the race for Palm Beach County State Attorney. Farkas began his legal career in 2009 as a prosecutor in the Palm Beach County State Attorney's office, and then he became a defense attorney. He's now in private practice with his wife. Farkas says he believes there needs to be more transparency in the state attorney's office, and he intends to be an aggressive prosecutor when it comes to public officials who have violated public trust. He says he wants to tackle corruption. In 2019, he represented a teenager who brought a pellet gun to Jupiter High School. He got the case dismissed. The young suspect was homeless, and the story brought attention to the problem of homeless kids in Palm Beach County. Going back further, in 2013, Farkas was the defense attorney for Kareem Williams of Belle Glade. Williams was 17 years old when he fatally shot a 15-year-old. After being found guilty, the sentencing phase turned into a legal minefield. Farkas argued that an automatic life sentence should be off the table. He cited a U.S. Supreme Court case from the previous year where the justices found that juveniles convicted of murder deserve special consideration. The judge sentenced Williams to life anyway, citing his criminal history. But Farkas kept on fighting, accusing prosecutors of withholding key evidence that it was another teen who pulled the trigger. Adam with us live now. Adam, you weren't in the state attorney's office for very long, just about a year, right?
Correct.
What did you learn there? Are there any lessons that you took away from your time there?
Absolutely. It's actually where I started my law career. When I came out of law school, that's where I first started. I had been interning there for 3 years already, so I was very familiar with everybody at the office and how it worked, but I didn't get to be in the courtroom and actually do things in court. But that's where you really learn how to be an attorney. That's where, when you first start trials, when I was coming up, the judges would help critique us and make us better and things like that. So what I learned at the state attorney's office, first of all, obviously I learned all their policies and procedures. More importantly, I've made relationships. I know who all the prosecutors are. I know who all the judges are. I also know how they work. I know how the state attorney's office files cases. I know how they file juvenile cases, and I know how they try cases.
And you got a handle on plea bargaining in your time there, right? Did you see that happening a lot?
Plea bargaining happens a lot everywhere. But again, the issue with plea bargaining is just like everything else in our system. Our entire system is based on proper prosecutorial discretion. And when you don't have experienced prosecutors, the plea bargains get worse, right? Then you start pleading cases you shouldn't plea, or you start not pleading cases that you should plea. So it becomes down to trickle effect. But no system could handle any system without a ton of plea bargaining, because the level of cases and the amount of cases we have, we would need the majority to plea bargain. But it should be that way, right? All these lower level offenders should not be clogging up our system.
What about some of the more high profile cases? You've seen the segment over the past couple of days. You know where I'm going with this. Killer Clown case, Austin Haroof in Martin County, the Ferreter case. These were public interest cases, and they ended with plea bargains. And some of us were like, whoa, didn't see that coming. What do you make of that?
It's not fair for me to speak of why they made the plea offer. I have been a prosecutor. Each case needs to be evaluated independently, so I'm not sure if they couldn't get certain evidence in or not. But the way plea offers work is the way state attorneys do is how strong their case is will depend on their plea offer, right? If they have a confession and DNA, your plea offer is going to be worse. But if it's a closer trial case, you may get a better plea offer. So I'm assuming in those cases, something happened with the case along the way or some of the evidence that would cause them to offer plea. I will tell you that there are definitely cases that I would not offer any plea in. There's no reason to. They are the most heinous, serious cases. Less than 5% of overall cases are very serious violent felonies, and even less on, private individuals, for lack of a better term. So those are the cases that should be in the courtroom. Those are the cases that we should be spending time on. we keep clogging the system with, low-level third-degree felonies, grand thefts, and things like that, when we really need to focus on the serious cases. And when you mention plea bargaining, when you have prosecutors who haven't been in the office long enough, handling high-level cases like what you're talking about, they also don't really know what's the proper plea bargain, right? Because they don't have experience in these cases from 10 years ago.
Right.
When I started as a prosecutor, the homicide unit, those prosecutors have been there 10, 15 years. Even homicide, sex crimes, be there 10 years. Now, because they have such a low retention rate and they don't have enough veteran prosecutors, they're moving up prosecutors to these serious divisions within 3-5 years without the proper experience.
We were talking about this during the commercial break before the segment started. You have represented some young men with gun violence crimes. I wonder if you have a sense of, should something change in the prosecution's office, in the state attorney's office, about the way defendants are handled if it's a gun crime and they're under 18 years old?
Oh, absolutely. Again, though, it still goes back to having a good prosecutor who understands and has good case evaluation, right? Every case is individually different. So the state attorney's office should never just have a policy, well, if there's a gun in the case, then this is what has to happen,
okay,
right? Because what people don't understand is you're going to treat an individual, let's say somebody breaks into a vehicle or a house, right? And they don't have a weapon on them, but they see a gun on the counter and they grab it and they put it in their backpack and they run away. They don't pull it out on anybody or anything. Because the gun was held, that's punishable by life, right? Yeah. Are you going to treat that person the same as a kid who goes into a house at night with a gun to hurt somebody? No.
Yeah, I see your point.
So every case needs to be evaluated properly on an individual level. The problem in juvenile court is the same as the problem in adult court. The prosecutors aren't properly trained or experienced. They don't have proper supervision it's not the young prosecutor's fault. I go into these misdemeanor courtrooms and it's not their fault. They have very little leadership. It's clear they've been showed very little things, and because the state attorney's office has decided to draw a line in the sand with the judiciary, you don't have the judiciary helping, mentoring young prosecutors, and that's a big part of what I'm going to do. I have every intention. I've spoken to prior judges who are going to come back and help our young prosecutors in the office, help make them the type of attorneys that we expect them that they should be.
Sounds like you have a lot of plans for the office. I think I have time for one more question, right? Want to ask you about Governor DeSantis. A couple of times in 2 cases that I can think of, he told a prosecutor, you're out, because that prosecutor said they would not enforce laws that he passed. If you found yourself in a situation where you personally did not agree with a new law and you were going to go head-to-head with the governor over something like that, would you be willing to lose your job over something like that if you felt strongly enough about it personally?
That's not, there's nothing personal about my job, okay? That's why I'm running as an independent. I'm not indebted to anybody, not Democrat, not Republican, or anybody. So the whole point of the office is to be fair and impartial. So my office will follow the law, but we will follow the law with the proper prosecutorial discretion. And when I want to enforce the law and when I don't, that's my job. But to just say I'm not going to enforce the law,
you know the cases I'm talking about.
I do. I know exactly the ones you're talking about.
Prosecutors I'm talking about.
Correct. And listen, we can all say what we want about politics, but that's the whole point, right? The fact that Governor DeSantis is stepping in on these Democratic prosecutors is exactly why I'm trying to take politics out of the state attorney's office. That's the whole basis of being a non-party affiliate. We need to take politics out of our criminal justice system. You hear every day on the media cases all over the country of, oh, this is a Democratic prosecutor. And now we hear the judiciary, who is supposed to be impartial, they're saying, oh, well, this is a Republican judge and this is a Democratic judge, which it can't be that way. So I'm trying to take that out of our system to make it a fair and impartial system.
And maybe it will be a message that resonates with the audience and with voters. Adam Farkas is the only non-party candidate in this race. And we'll see you on the ballot in the general election in November.
Thanks, sir.
Adam, thanks for coming on.
Nice meeting you.
We'll be right back.